and try to find out why did this officer, why did this soldier join the United States Army to begin with, and what makes someone spend over 3 decades in the service. And for those of you who don't know, as I just mentioned, John grew up just outside of Buffalo in the town of Lockport, New York, a small town along the historic Erie Canal. John will tell you that Lockport shaped him in many, many ways. He fondly remembers participating in sports and the incredible friends that he made along the way. But most notable for John was his participation in the Lockport YMCA, whose youth programs develop leadership potential while fostering a culture of service to lead positive change in their communities. And John, you'll have all that in abundance as you enter the general officer ranks. John credits the YMCA's leadership for helping him grow in body, mind, and spirit. As a high school senior in 1985, John enlisted in the Army and after graduation shipped off to Fort Leonard Wood for basic and advanced individual training. During his enlistment, he served as a combat engineer, a 12 Bravo, and deployed in support of Operation Desert Storm. And John counts this experience as one of the most significant in his professional career. Upon his return home, he took his aim at applying for the Army Green to Gold Scholarship Program. He was selected, and it gave him the opportunity to leave active duty for a while to attend college. For John, it made sense to continue his engineering journey, and he began ROTC at Cameron University in 1992 and was commissioned as an engineer officer just 3 years later in 1995. John's subsequent career, which spans over 3 decades, I just want to give you a few highlights. He served as a strategic planner, a combat engineer, a battalion commander, and an Army fellow. He's been called to serve as a command engineer at the U.S. Forces Korea and the United Nations Command there. All John's assignments have the same foundation in the Army value of selfless service. In that value, we ask soldiers to go a little further, endure a little longer, and look a little closer how we can make a difference across our Army. And the most significant projects John has worked on have reflected his selfless service. After Hurricane Sandy caused deadly flooding and destruction right here across this region, John was commanding the 19th Engineer Battalion at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and we brought him all the way to New York City to help unwater buildings, remove trash and debris, conduct many, many structural assessments of key infrastructure, and pump water out of public housing and wastewater treatment plants. And these missions were critical to many New Yorkers whose lives had been upended by that terrible storm. During his time as the commander of our Pittsburgh district, the 2017 hurricanes of Irma and Maria hit the United States and plunged millions of Americans into the longest power blackout in United States history. The Army Corps of Engineers called on John's expertise and asked him to serve as the task force commander for power restoration in Puerto Rico. John led the logistical feat of procuring more than 51 million replacement parts to put that power grid back together, including 61,000 power poles. John has all these numbers memorized. 8,400 miles of transmission and distribution wire, much of which had to be manufactured specifically for the purpose and shipped to a Caribbean island 1,000 miles southeast of Florida. Subsequently, John served as our chief of staff in USACE headquarters. And I heard he was going to call this one of his most rewarding assignments. He absolutely labeled it one of his more difficult assignments. Not because of me, John, I'm told I'm never difficult, but because it was during the height of the COVID pandemic, and we all remember what that was like. It just seemed conditions were changing daily, certainly in the Pentagon and Washington, D.C., and everywhere that we operate across the country. And at the same time, coupled that with the largest workload in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer history, and that makes your chief of staff a very, very busy person. We call our chief of staff in the Corps Little Chief. So as our Little Chief, he worked beside me, General Highcamp, Major General Graham, Major General Milhorn, certainly Dr. Altendorf, and many, many others, all of whom he credits with contributing to his growth as a leader. As I said in the beginning, this promotion has been a long time coming, and while John has been waiting, he continued to exceed all expectations right here in North Atlantic Division. As our commander and division engineer, John has led a team that executed 88% of its military construction award commitments at a cumulative amount of over $2.1 billion. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the largest regional program carried out by any U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, major subordinate command, by dollar value and the volume, the number of projects. And we all know that in the Army Corps of Engineers, we don't accomplish anything by ourselves. It's all about partnerships that truly allow us to continue building strong. And John has advanced those partnerships in a big way in working with counterparts not only in the United States, but in Nigeria, in Poland, in Israel, to name just a few, that enhance our overall national security. So all of those accomplished, John, have brought us here today where you take on the mantle of General Officer. And as you know, today, I often say this at promotion ceremonies, this is not an award, it's not a thank you, it's not a pat on the back for a job well done. It's simply the Army's senior leadership recognition of this officer's potential to serve at the next level of command. Generals are promoted because the Army knows and trusts that their potential and ability to serve are paramount and amongst the best officers that we have in our ranks. John, this rank signifies the Army's highest level of responsibility and strategic influence, and your role represents the highest echelon of command where individuals hold not only the responsibility for leading, but also the duty to help shape and select our future leaders. That is all to say, in this role, history is going to have its eyes on John Lloyd. As tradition dictates, in a few moments, we're going to present a set of symbolic gifts to our newly promoted Brigadier General, the General Officer Belt, the General Officer Pistol, and the General Officer Flag we will unfurl that symbolize the weight of responsibility and authority that we entrust to him. Unfortunately, John, we couldn't get your pistol here on time. I couldn't get it on United Airlines with me this morning for this ceremony, but as the past 10 months have taught us anything, good things come to those who wait. But what I really wanted to share today, it's really not about all of these mementos. The mementos are important. What's important here is something a bit more intangible. So, John, I'm just going to leave you with this one thought today that I hope you'll take forward. While the rank of General Officer is going to give you much more prestige in all of those who you deal with, it also comes with more complicated problems and at times longer days. And while those challenges get tougher, never forget to find those opportunities to use your rank for good, right? Use your rank to make the Army better for your soldiers, your civilians, and their family members. General officers all get the opportunity to take the Army values of selfless service and the concept of servant leadership to the next level, and I can't wait to read about the next chapters in your career. So, John, I think I speak for everyone in this very full room. We are all incredibly proud of you. We're excited. We're looking forward to all that you're going to accomplish in the years ahead. I would argue this is the first of many stars the Army's going to put on your shoulders. And while we all waited a long time for this, I would argue, let's make it official. Ladies and gentlemen, we give a round of applause for our newly promoted Brigadier General.
At this time, I would like to ask Jordan Morgan to join General Spellmon. All right. Please remain seated during the publishing of the orders. Attention to orders. The President of the United States has reposed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, valor, fidelity, and abilities of John P. Lloyd. In view of these qualities and his demonstrated potential for increased responsibility, he is therefore promoted in the United States Army from Colonel to Brigadier General. Do we need a, are we good on foot? There we go. Hold on. Wait. Awesome. General Spellmon will now present the certificate of promotion signed by the Secretary of the Army, Christine E. Wormuth. The history of the General Officer's Belt dates back to World War II. It was first introduced in 1944 as authorized by the Army Chief of Staff. This thick, black, leather belt has an 18-karat gold-plated buckle imprinted with an eagle. General officers wear the belt at their discretion. Since World War II, the Army has also issued each newly promoted general officer a sidearm for personal protection. Although not displayed here today, the sidearm that General Lloyd will receive is the M18 Modular Handgun System, which is the standard sidearm issued by the United States Army. Each general officer is issued a general officer's flag, embroidered in the center with his or her rank. The general officer's flag, when displayed, signifies the general's presence and the respect and courtesy afforded to the rank of general officer. At this time, they're already moving. We'll move forward and secure the flag. All right. General Lloyd and Stacy will now uncase and unfurl the one-star flag representative of an Army Brigadier General. The military officer's oath is a combination of constitutional requirement, historical influence, and centuries-old custom. Though the first oath of office for government officials dates back to 1789, the version we use today was approved by Congress in 1868. Lieutenant General Spellmon will now administer the oath of office to Brigadier General Lloyd. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to present for the first time Brigadier General John P. Lloyd.
My goal is to hold it together. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, first and foremost, happy holidays. I am deeply honored and humbled to be in front of you today, and I thank you for being here. I can't help but be grateful for my family and friends, everlasting love and support. They have supported me through my struggles and celebrated my victories, acting as pillars of strength. We'd especially like to thank the Gold Star families that are here with us today, Mr. and Mrs. Alice and Miss Emily Toro, for being with us on this special day. Members of the FDNY, the Fort Hamilton Garrison team, members of headquarters USACE who made the trip here from DC, and so many others in attendance from Wounded Warriors and Tunnel of the Towers. Thank you deeply from Stacy and myself. Chief, I am very grateful for your presence and for hosting my promotion ceremony today. More importantly, for all the amazing support for me along the way. You and Charisse are the perfect example of what it means to be an Army family, and we have been blessed with your leadership of USACE and the Engineer Regiment. I'm grateful for your unwavering patience and support during my tenure as your Chief of Staff and certainly as the NAD Commander. Now, Chief, you were my first choice. The Chief sent out a note, and he said, well, I don't, John, I wasn't even Charisse's first choice. So I assured him that he was my first choice. Chief, thanks for being here today. To the NAD team, let me just say how lucky I am to work with such a wonderful bunch of true professionals. On a daily basis, they provide for the region and, more importantly, the nation, engineering solutions for the nation's toughest challenges. NAD operates in 13 states and 40 different countries on any given day. This amazing team, of which I get to be part of, obligated almost $6 billion last year to the nation's infrastructure and our military. I also, Chief, have 6 amazing district commanders that are far better than I ever was in Pittsburgh. I couldn't be more honored to serve with my NAD team. Rhino and JP, thank you for your leadership and steady hand each day. To my front office team, thank you so much for your support, putting this entire event together on short notice, and for all your help. Most importantly, Shamira, where are you at? Shamira, Stacy and I cannot thank you enough for all you do for us and NAD. We are so grateful for your help on this very special day. Now, my cousin Gina told me that she had to catch a flight back to Western New York, back to their home, and that I only had 3 minutes to provide remarks. Gina, with your permission, I'd like to get a little bit more than 3 minutes.
Today you can have it.
Many of the people here I know traveled to be with us just before the holidays. Stacy and I wanted to express our gratitude to all of you for making the trip on such short notice. We appreciate those taking the time to join us virtually as well, and I know there are many of you who wanted to be here in person. Stacy and I are both grateful for your support. In the military, we often find ourselves in demanding, high-pressure situations. It is during these times that the support of our family and friends becomes even more crucial. They are the ones who stand by us, offering a listening ear, a comforting embrace, and words of encouragement. They understand the sacrifices we make and the dedication required to serve our great country. Their unwavering support allows us to focus on our duties, knowing that we have a strong support system waiting for us at home. This promotion really represents not only my achievement, but more importantly, us collectively. So many of you have been an important part of my life, either as a family member, like my cousins Gina, who I consider a sister, my cousin Debbie, who babysat me when I was a baby, and her son Dominic, who's not only a cousin, but a very good friend. Or my very good friend who I grew up with, Dana, who traveled here from Western New York on short notice. Or my in-laws, Ron and Connie, who not only let me marry their daughter, but have always seen me as another son in their family alongside my 2 amazing brother-in-laws, Derek and Dustin. It also represents the many people who I have served alongside throughout my career. While there are too many people individually to recognize for their support and friendship over these many years, I would like you to all know that you have a special place in our heart and our lives. So many people reached out with support or a kind note. The chief started to mention this, but let me go into it a little bit further. In the fall of 1985, while the chief was playing for Army football, is that the year you won the Peach Bowl, Chief? Is that the? In the fall of 1985, while casually looking through my hometown newspaper, I came across an Army recruiting ad. Thinking about my future and post-high school plans, I picked up the phone and dialed the number contacting a local recruiter. I met with the recruiter along with my parents, and in November of 1985, my mom would sign the enlistment papers with me since I was only 17 years old. That simple act that I thought would only be a 4-year endeavor would turn into a lifelong dedication to the service of our nation. More importantly, it would be the start of a new life, new friends, and a new family. I was hooked, and I loved what I was doing. I always told Stacy that I wanted to do this as long as it remained fun. 34 years later, my love for the profession of arms remains intact. Although, things like holds chief do test your resolve. I love serving, and I love being a soldier and being with soldiers. My first assignment was with the 10th Engineer Battalion in Kitzingen, Germany. It would allow me to meet soldiers like Shad Waite, who remains my oldest Army friend, and while we don't see each other often, when we do, we pick right where we left off. It also led to the meeting at the time Sergeant Anthony Cady, who now serves in our Savannah district, who would later become Command Sergeant Major Cady. Sergeant Cady was not my squad leader, but saw something in me that perhaps others didn't. He spent countless hours preparing me for boards, and I would later become the Soldier of the Year for 3rd Infantry Division due to his time and his efforts. To see more in me than I saw in myself was a simple, unselfish act that I try to live by to this day and give back. A good friend and one of the best Rangers I know, Rich Scott, wrote a very heartwarming note to me recently. Rich, I want you to know that I appreciate your friendship, and I assure you that I will remain dedicated to the care of soldiers, civilians, and their families as my #1 priority. That is where my dedication lies. Soldiers and NCOs have been a huge part of my success and have never failed me. From company command at Fort Bragg in the leadership of Colonel Retired Dan Gray and Command Sergeant Major Nunez to the battalion command of SD, the 19th Engineer Battalion, where I would serve with one of the best Command Sergeant Majors that I have ever met, Command Sergeant Major Ethan Dunbar. Command Sergeant Major Dunbar was a sounding board and remained calm and steady when I wasn't. He was more than a sergeant major, he was truly my brother. Alongside amazing officers like John Beck, who turned my poor commander's guidance and molded it into sound training plans as we prepared for deployment. During Desert Shield and Storm with the 299th Engineer Battalion, I would be shaped by First Sergeant Gary Secor, who taught me what realistic training for combat should look like. His focus on marksmanship training and field craft would later shape my own training guidance as a battalion commander. My multiple tours at Fort Bragg would be shaped again by fellow commanders like Colonel Retired T.J. Mosley. Better yet, T.J. and Karen would become lifelong Army friends. T.J. is still a person I call on to this day when I need a sounding board. We have watched each other's kids grow up, get married, and when we talk, we too pick right where we left off. I would have the honor of serving as the aide-de-camp to now retired Lieutenant General Del Daly. I marveled at his ability to multitask from meeting to meeting and make decisions on complex issues, hoping that one day I could do the same. More importantly, Stacy and I watched in awe as his wife Mary managed their family and Army responsibilities flawlessly, a shining example of an Army family. And for Chase and Luke, you two are far better aides than I ever was to General Daly. In Pittsburgh, as the chief mentioned, the civilians I served with would deploy for months to Puerto Rico to rebuild the power grid after Hurricane Maria. They deployed as good as any soldiers I had served with. They never complained and never quit until the mission was complete. Brian, thanks for being here representing the Pittsburgh district, and thanks to the entire district who's on virtually. Thanks as well to Lieutenant General retired Semonite for having faith and confidence in me to execute that mission on behalf of USACE. In 1994 and 1996, Stacy and I would be blessed with the birth of Jordan and Morgan. No parents could be more lucky or prouder than us. Both kids moved multiple times, having to make new friends and attend new schools along the way. They would watch me deploy numerous times, to include on Christmas Day, 2001. They say that military kids are resilient because of this, but it's far more than that. Military kids sacrifice more than anyone could know. For Jordan, we moved him his senior year of high school to Hawaii. He would become the valedictorian of his graduating class, receive a Navy ROTC scholarship, and now serves as a submarine officer with 2nd Fleet in Norfolk, Virginia. More importantly, he and his wife, Anna, have 2 wonderful daughters, Sophie and Harper. And Anna, I know you're out there. We are thinking of you and your family. Morgan would become the salutatorian. Now, these 2 are pretty competitive, so you can only imagine when Morgan was not the valedictorian, but the salutatorian of her graduating class. She would go on to attend the University of Kentucky, become the president of her sorority, Kappa Delta. But again, more importantly, she met her husband, Adam, and has a wonderful 9-month-old son, Henry. Chief, I'm going to drink some water here. Where's John Beck? John. I'm going to do better than you, I hope. The most important date in my life remains 25 May 1990. I'm not going to look at you. That day, while with some Army friends, I would meet the most beautiful girl that I immediately fell in love with. Her, not so much. After talking to her for about 2.5 hours, she finally looked at me and asked, "What is your name again?" I knew I had her then. Two months later, I would propose to her. When I asked her dad, Ron, his permission to marry her, he rightfully said no. Even though he's a pilot, I won him over as well. Then 2 months later, we would be wed on 30 September and exchange our vows. I would deploy only a couple weeks later for Desert Shield/Storm. Stacy wrote me every single day during that deployment. The vows we exchanged never said anything about moving 16 times, or about every 2 years now. Giving up her wonderful career as a teacher, where she was a teacher of the year in Fayetteville. Raising 2 kids by herself for a good chunk of time. She would deal with me missing birthdays, holidays, going on training exercises, and multiple deployments. She would lead the family readiness group, plan a victory garden at Fort Knox, and even today continues to give back and serve on the board for the Fort Hamilton Spouse Foundation, raising money for this wonderful community. Through it all, the most challenging of times, Stacy stood by my side and weathered the storm when most would have left. For this reason, this promotion would not have been possible without her. I could not be luckier to have you ask me again what my name was. So I stand before all of you incredibly humbled. The outpouring of support has far exceeded anything I could have imagined, and it only makes this holiday season more special. Chief, thank you again for hosting the promotion. General Colleton, thank you for making the trip up. And for all of you who took the time out of your day, for me, means an awful lot. Thank you for all your incredible support and being with our family today. I look forward to continue to serve our great nation with honor and distinction. Esseons, be all you can be.
So you can stand for the playing of the engineer and Army songs. The words are available in the program if needed. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for joining us. You are cordially invited to join in congratulating Brigadier General and Mrs. Lloyd in a receiving line here at the front of the room. The Lloyd family also invites you downstairs near the bar area for refreshments to celebrate and in honor of today's special occasion.